Clash of MMA.
That was a terrible position. It's the fact that Oliveira
Kevin Holland went from being one of the most exciting and charismatic fighters in the UFC to struggling in one of the toughest divisions. But what's behind his recent defeats? Is it a problem with his skill set, his mentality, or something deeper? Let's dive into the factors behind his struggles and see what's going wrong. Kevin Holland's rise to fame in the UFC was nothing short of spectacular. Known for his exciting knockouts, lightning-fast striking, and trash-talking persona, he quickly became a fan favorite. But in recent years, his momentum has slowed. His performances in the octagon have led to questions about his ability to compete with the elite. Was his early success just a flash in the pan, or is there more to Holland's struggles? Today, we're breaking down his recent losses, analyzing the key moments in each fight, and looking at what needs to change for Holland to return to his winning ways. Kevin Holland's biggest challenge isn't just the high level of competition in the UFC, it's evolving as a fighter. While his striking, charisma, and entertaining style have taken him far, his recent defeats have exposed glaring holes in his game. Critics have pointed to his wrestling defense, his over-reliance on his knockout power, and his mental approach to fights. The question now is, can Holland fix these issues before it's too late, or has he hit a plateau? To understand where things have gone wrong, let's break down Kevin Holland's recent fights. First, let's look at his bout with Brunson. This was a pivotal fight that highlighted Holland's most glaring weakness, his wrestling defense. Brunson, a seasoned grappler, took Holland down at will and controlled him on the ground. Despite his early success in the stand-up, Holland struggled to defend the takedowns, and even more frustrating was his mental approach to the fight. Instead of focusing on escaping bad positions or improving his defense, Holland seemed distracted, spending time talking to Brunson and the commentators instead of fighting. This mental lapse ultimately led to his loss. Next, we move to the Marvin Vettori fight. Again, Holland faced a fighter who had the skills to neutralize his strengths. Vettori, another grappler with strong takedowns, exploited Holland's wrestling defense, keeping him grounded for long periods. Although Holland took the fight on short notice and showed some heart in the octagon, the result was the same, another loss. His inability to defend takedowns, combined with a lapse in fight strategy, raised questions about his readiness for top-tier competition in the division. Finally, Holland faced Khamzat Chimaev, arguably one of the most dominant grapplers in the UFC today. This was a fight where Holland was supposed to showcase his skills, but it quickly turned into a nightmare. Chimaev wasted no time taking Holland down and submitted him in less than 3 minutes. Many felt that Holland was simply outclassed, especially when it comes to grappling. This fight exposed just how far behind Holland is when it comes to dealing with elite wrestlers. Despite his striking and excitement, Holland has struggled to address these weaknesses in his game. So, what's at the root of Kevin Holland's struggles? The obvious answer is his wrestling defense and inability to deal with elite grapplers. But it's not just about his technical skills, it's also about his mentality. Holland has admitted in interviews that, at times, he was more focused on having fun and entertaining the crowd rather than focusing on the grind of the fight and making the necessary adjustments. While his entertaining style made him a fan favorite, it's also caused him to overlook crucial aspects of his game, particularly his fight IQ and preparation against well-rounded opponents. However, after the loss to Vettori, Holland began to make changes. He started working with Daniel Cormier, a former UFC champion, to sharpen his wrestling and improve his overall game. Holland's focus shifted, and he began taking his training camps more seriously. But despite these improvements, the Chimaev fight showed that there's still work to be done if he hopes to become a more well-rounded fighter, capable of competing with the elite in the division. Kevin Holland's recent struggles have shown us a harsh reality. It's not enough to be entertaining or a powerful striker in the UFC. To stay competitive at the highest level, fighters need to be well-rounded and constantly evolve. While Holland's striking and charisma make him a star, his wrestling defense and fight IQ needs serious improvement if he wants to be a consistent contender. That being said, Holland is still young, and he's shown a willingness to learn and adapt. If he can make the necessary adjustments and fully commit to improving his weaknesses, he definitely has the potential for a successful comeback. Kevin Holland has undeniable strengths that make him a dangerous fighter. His striking is dynamic, with knockout power in both hands, and his ability to set traps and confuse opponents with his unorthodox movements is a real asset. His cardio is impressive, and his ability to fight at a fast pace makes him difficult to deal with when he's on the offensive. However, the areas where he's consistently been exposed are his wrestling defense and grappling game. Against elite fighters who can pressure him on the ground, Holland has struggled to defend takedowns and find a way to get back on his feet. Additionally, his mental approach to fights has been called into question. While his charismatic nature makes him a fan favorite, it sometimes appeared as though Holland was more focused on entertaining than on executing a fight strategy. If he doesn't make serious adjustments in these areas, it will be difficult for him to rise through the ranks and challenge for a title. For Kevin Holland to return to his winning ways, several things need to change. First and foremost, his grappling and wrestling defense must improve. This means more focused training on stopping takedowns, better scrambling ability, and improved positioning on the ground. Holland needs to be more aware of the danger posed by elite grapplers and develop the skills to handle those situations better. The UFC is filled with elite athletes who are constantly improving, and to remain competitive, Holland must adopt a more disciplined, focused approach. His mental approach to training and fight preparation must be dialed in. Holland has shown that he has the tools to be successful, but he must be willing to put in the hard work and focus that it takes to compete at the highest level. Want to know how Kevin Holland plans to bounce back? Stay tuned for our next video where we dive deeper into his training regimen and what's next for this exciting fighter. Subscribe for more.